Imagine you're wandering through a dense, shadowy forest. The kind of place where sunlight barely pierces through the thick canopy above, leaving everything shrouded in a murky gloom. Suddenly a twig snaps nearby. Your heart races, adrenaline floods your system, and you freeze in place. That single sound sent your body into overdrive. What just happened? That was fear. A primal reaction designed to keep you alive. But what if that fear wasn't just a response to a potential threat? What if it was a weapon, one that predators wield with masterful precision? Today, we're diving into the chilling world of nature's greatest manipulators. We'll explore how some animals use terror not just to hunt, but to control their prey, breaking them down psychologically before going in for the kill. Fear isn't just a byproduct of being hunted. It's a potent tool as sharp as any fang or claw, and it's time to see just how it shapes the wild. The science of fear, what's going on inside. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of fear tactics, let's understand what happens in the body when fear kicks in. Picture a gazelle grazing peacefully. When a lion comes into view, everything changes. The gazelle's eyes widen, its muscles tense, and its heart hammers against its ribs. Blood rushes to its limbs, preparing it to either run like its life depends on it, or freeze, hoping to become invisible. This is called the fight or flight response, and it's triggered by a cocktail of hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. But fear isn't just about pumping up the muscles for action. It affects the brain too. When fear grips an animal, its decision-making becomes narrow and often irrational. It stops thinking about strategy or long-term survival. It becomes trapped in the now, focusing only on escape. And predators have evolved to exploit this perfectly. The terror of the tactic. Ambush artists. Let's start with the ambush predators. You know the type, lurking in the shadows waiting for just the right moment to strike. But what if I told you they're not just waiting? They're cultivating fear. Take the tiger, for instance. These striped hunters don't just rely on stealth, they actively manipulate the psychological state of their prey. Tigers are masters at creeping up close, staying just at the edge of their victim's awareness. The prey might sense something, a rustling leaf, a glimpse of orange and black in the bushes, but it's not enough to trigger a full-on panic. Instead, the prey becomes uneasy, constantly glancing around, ears twitching. The tiger holds back, waiting as the anxiety builds. By the time it finally charges, the prey is often so frazzled by the unseen menace that it makes a mistake, freezing up, stumbling, or choosing a poor escape route. In a way, the tiger has already caught its prey before it ever made a move, paralyzed by fear. But tigers aren't alone in this. Crocodiles lurking beneath the water's surface send the same ripples of fear through a herd of wildebeest as they hesitate at a riverbank. The longer the crocodiles wait, the stronger that fear grows, spreading through the herd like a wave until it becomes a maddening force, driving some to recklessly plunge in and seal their own fate. Psychological warfare, the shadow of the owl. Then there's the silent hunter of the night, the owl. Owls are some of the stealthiest hunters in the world, thanks to their specialized feathers that allow them to fly without a sound. It's more than just a cool feature, it's a psychological weapon. Mice and other small rodents, their usual prey, have highly sensitive hearing. They can pick up on the faintest rustle or swoosh. But when an owl's wings slice through the air silently, there's no warning, no rustle, no sound. Just a sudden dark shadow overhead and bam, death from above. The silence doesn't just help the owls sneak up, it creates an environment of constant, low-level anxiety. Mice live in perpetual fear of this silent terror, scrambling for cover at the smallest shadow, the tiniest flicker of movement. The owl, in essence, controls its prey's behavior through fear, keeping them trapped in a state of vigilance until one unlucky rodent makes a desperate mistake. The dance of fear, the wolf pack strategy. Next, we have the more sophisticated predators, the ones that don't just use fear individually, but turn it into a team sport. Enter the wolf pack. Wolves are formidable on their own, but in a pack they become a force of nature. Their hunts are as much about psychological manipulation as they are about brute strength. Imagine a herd of deer on a winter's night, standing shoulder to shoulder, trying to stay calm as they catch the scent of wolves on the breeze. The wolves don't immediately attack. They slink around the edges, circling the herd, letting their presence be known. Occasionally, one or two wolves dart forward, making the deer flinch and scatter, only to retreat back. What's happening here is classic psychological warfare. The wolves are testing the herd, looking for weak links, but they're also sowing chaos and fear. The deer become jittery, wasting precious energy as they tense up and panic. By the time the wolves finally make their move, the deer are exhausted and disorganized. Easy pickings for the pack. The paralyzing stare, serpentine hypnosis. But what if a predator doesn't need to chase at all? What if it can freeze its prey in place, locked in a death stare? This is where we meet the snake. Take the king cobra. When a king cobra rises up, hood flared, swaying slightly, it's more than just a display of size. Its movements have a hypnotic quality, and many animals become transfixed by it. The prey doesn't run. Instead, it freezes, caught in a trance-like state. Scientists believe that the cobra's display, combined with its unblinking gaze and rhythmic swaying, overwhelms the prey's nervous system, leaving it unable to think or act. In a way, the snake's gaze is a weapon in itself, pinning its victim in place, leaving it helpless. The prey might not even struggle as the cobra strikes, almost as if it's accepted its fate, another testament to the power of fear. Mind games, the mimicry of the hawk moth. Now let's switch gears and look at an entirely different kind of fear manipulation. Not from predator to prey, but the other way around. Some animals, like the hawk moth caterpillar, use fake fear to keep predators at bay. The hawk moth caterpillar is a master impersonator. When threatened, it puffs up its body and reveals markings that look eerily similar to a snake's head. It even mimics a snake's movements, lunging forward as if to strike. Birds and small mammals, who might otherwise make a quick snack out of a caterpillar, freeze in shock at the sight of what looks like a tiny viper. This is a bluff, a perfect illusion designed to exploit the predator's own fear of being attacked. It's a reminder that fear is a two-way street, and sometimes the prey can turn it around, sending shivers down the spine of those who would normally hunt them. The sound of dread, the death whistle of the hawk. But fear isn't just visual. Sound plays a massive role too, and few creatures use it better than the red-tailed hawk. When a hawk dives, it emits a chilling scream that echoes through the landscape. It's a sound that small animals have learned to associate with impending doom. That screech isn't just a random noise, it's a signal, an auditory weapon designed to send small creatures scurrying for cover. The hawk's scream paralyzes prey, making them hesitate for just a split second, just long enough for the hawk to zero in and snatch them up. It's fear in the form of sound waves, a weapon that hits the brain long before the talons do. Living in a cage of fear, the ecology of fear. Now let's zoom out and consider something even more unsettling. What happens when fear becomes a permanent part of an animal's life? In predator-rich environments, prey animals aren't just reacting to a single predator, they're living in a constant state of anxiety. This is known as the ecology of fear, and it shapes everything about their behavior, from where they choose to eat to how they raise their young. For example, elk in Yellowstone National Park used to graze freely across the entire landscape until wolves were reintroduced. Now, with wolves back in the mix, the elk have changed their entire way of life. They avoid open fields and stick to dense forests, even though the food there is less nutritious. They're on edge, always ready to bolt at the slightest sign of danger. This constant fear changes not just the prey, but the entire ecosystem. The plants in open areas have started to recover because the elk don't graze there anymore. Even the rivers have shifted course because the vegetation along their banks is thicker, all because of the fear of wolves. It's a ripple effect that shows just how powerful fear can be, not just in the moment, but in shaping the entire environment. Fear as a tool of control. In the end, what we see is that fear is more than just a reaction. It's a weapon, a tool of control, and sometimes even an art form. From tigers and wolves to snakes and hawks, predators have honed the use of terror to a razor's edge, bending their prey's minds long before they ever touch their bodies. But it's not just about killing. It's about domination. Fear turns the tables, making the prey give up rather than be taken. It's nature's cruelest trick, one that shows us that sometimes the most powerful weapons aren't physical at all. So next time you hear a twig snap in the woods or catch a shadow out of the corner of your eye, remember, it's not just your body reacting. It's a story as old as life itself. Fear isn't just a response to danger, it's the shape of control. And in the animal kingdom, that shape is terrifyingly effective.